Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a throwaway account in the 𝒸�ew Off My Chest subreddit. The post is titled, "I've been married for a month and my husband is having an affair with my sister. I've been in shock since I found out. We've only been married for a month. He's been having an affair with my sister since before we got engaged back in November. My sister is 8 months pregnant. Her husband was the one who discovered the affair and he's now divorcing her. On the advice of his aunt, who is a solicitor, he had a test done to confirm that their 1.5-year-old son is indeed his child. However, my sister doesn't yet know whether her husband or my husband is the father of her baby. I'll be seeking a divorce even though my husband wants us to go to counseling and stay married. I'm an advocate, a barrister, so at least I won't have any trouble finding a solicitor. The law only considers adultery as a reason for the marriage breaking down. It doesn't affect how the assets are divided or settled. At least I won't have to pay him any support since we were only married for a month before I moved out of our flat. I'll never speak to my sister again, no matter how much she begs for forgiveness, and I'm not staying married to my husband, no matter how much he pleads with me to stay. I don't believe either of them when they say they're sorry, not one bit." Update. Last June, I, 37F, found out that my husband, 39M, was having an affair with my sister, 27F. We had only been married for a month. Their affair had begun before I was even engaged. It was my sister's husband, 27M, who first discovered it. When the affair came to light, my sister was about 8 months pregnant with a baby girl, and it turned out that my ex-husband was the father. Apparently, he was furious when he found out because he didn't want children. My ex-husband and I had met in an online dating group for people who didn't want children or to date anyone who already had them. Both he and my sister begged me for forgiveness. My sister said she couldn't help falling in love with him, and my ex-husband insisted he couldn't be blamed for what happened. I couldn't believe they actually thought what they did could ever be forgiven or forgotten. My ex-husband didn't want a divorce, and neither did my sister want to end her marriage to my former brother-in-law. I'm divorced now. I'm an advocate known as a barrister in the rest of the UK, so I was fortunate to already know the best solicitors to represent me. Since I had only been married for a month before filing for divorce and moving out of our flat, I didn't have to pay my ex-husband maintenance, and the process was relatively quick. It's a different story for my sister and her husband. They had been married longer, own property together, and have a son. He was 17 months old when the affair was discovered. My sister may end up having to pay both spousal and child maintenance since she's the higher earner. Their divorce is still ongoing. I haven't spoken with my former brother-in-law since I left my ex-husband, but I feel terribly for him. He was shattered when he learned the truth about the affair and the baby not being his. He didn't deserve any of it. People who say you should just get over it when someone cheats have absolutely no idea. I've never felt pain like this before. It wasn't just emotional, it was physical too. I'm still heartbroken. I had no idea anything could hurt this much. I'm going to start seeing a counselor, but it doesn't feel like enough. I haven't seen or spoken to my ex-husband since I moved out, and the only contact during the divorce was through our solicitors. He's dead to me, so is my sister. I haven't spoken to her since shortly after I left my ex-husband, and I never will again. She's dead to me. I don't think I'll ever fully recover from this. I'm fortunate that my parents, my other sister, and most of my family support me. They've also disowned my traitorous sister and cut contact with her. Anyone who tells me I should forgive her or chooses her over me gets removed from my life without a second chance. I don't ever want to hear anything about either one of them again. According to my ex-husband's solicitor during the divorce, he and my sister plan to marry once her divorce is finalized. I haven't heard anything more about them since, and I do my best not to think about them at all. They were two of the people I loved most in the world, and what they did destroyed me. They are selfish, and they broke something in me that will never fully heal. Anyone who says I should forgive or forget has no idea what it's like. Alliterative Ass said, I wouldn't forgive them either, especially knowing they were sleeping together well before the marriage. He stood up there with her, and her sister was probably beside her in the wedding party, pregnant with his child. The depths of scumbaggery are low and the heights of entitlement are high. DM Faith said, I can't imagine making it to 39 years old, not wanting children, and still not getting a vasectomy, especially while also having unprotected sex with a woman who already had a baby and clearly wanted another. That's unbelievably stupid on so many levels. Even before considering the fact that he was married, she was 12 years younger and also married, and of all people, she was his wife's own sister. This next story was made in the relationship subreddit by a throwaway account. The post is titled, "My fiance is a homicide detective and I'm starting to feel like he treats me more like a suspect than a partner. I'm 36 and my fiance and I have been together for almost 4 years. He's a homicide detective. My friends immediately started side-eyeing me. They said, don't date a cop, it's not worth it, they're all abusive, etc. None of them have ever actually dated a cop, so I found their opinions more annoying than anything else. I just felt like they were basing their judgment on a stereotype. My mom said similar things, but she dated a cop who was former military with PTSD about 40 years ago and based everything on that. Lately though, a few things have started to bother me. I don't know if these incidents are actually more frequent now or if I was just willfully blind to them before, but they're really getting to me. He records our arguments. I've known about that for a while. He told me it was to make sure we remember things correctly and communicate better, and I believed him at first. I didn't like it and thought it was petty and stupid. I asked if he saved the recordings and he said he deletes them once the argument is resolved. I've since found a folder on his computer labeled with dates and times, and they're recordings of arguments or other conversations we've had going back over a year. He notices tiny changes in my behavior and asks questions in a way that feels more like an interrogation than concern. I also recently discovered that he's run background checks on some of my friends and co-workers. Sometimes his phone buzzes and he steps out for hours without explanation, and when I ask, he just says he's handling work stuff. He makes cryptic comments like, I only trust what I can verify, or I like to know everything that might matter about things between us, not strictly about work. Then he laughs it off, but the words stick. It's hard to tell when he's joking and when he's serious. I love him, but sometimes I feel like he's treating me like I'm some sort of suspect. He doesn't seem to trust anyone, including me. Every little disagreement feels like it could be evidence. Recently, he's made some comments about having kids, like putting a tracker on them at all times and never letting them spend the night at friends' houses. This came after I told him that people at work were saying their kids don't have sleepovers like we used to. He said he will never let his kids spend the night at somebody else's house and that he'll run background checks on every parent of our kids' friends and on their teachers. I feel like these kinds of comments are becoming more frequent and it's just escalating. How do I handle this with him? How do I bring it up in a way that won't just turn into a dumb argument that he inevitably records for no good reason? I honestly don't know how to talk to him about it. I have considered telling him he needs therapy because he cannot keep living so suspicious and paranoid about everything and everyone, but I'm pretty sure he'll refuse. Update. I think a good starting point would be for me to admit that I do believe my fiance is a good man. He's not cruel, he's not aggressive or violent, and he believes with all his heart that he's right most of the time. Of course, I realize a lot of people were pretty negative in their comments toward me in response to my original post, and part of me wants to thank you all for your concern, but another part of me wonders if some of this negative response is simply because of the nature of his work. After sitting on all of this for a few days, I decided I couldn't put off this conversation any longer. I told him that we had to talk and that this wasn't about winning an argument. I began with the recordings. I told him I knew he had been stockpiling recordings of our arguments and conversations going all the way back a year and that it makes me feel violated and threatened. He did not deny this. He explained why he keeps them, in case things ever get twisted and to protect himself. Hearing my fiance talk about our relationship in a way that implies he sees our life together as a potential lawsuit made me feel threatened. When I mentioned the way he questions me and observes small shifts in my behavior, he explained that this is simply how his brain works and that given all he's seen in his work, he can't just switch it off. He told me that pointing out details doesn't mean he believes I'm doing anything wrong, only that he likes to verify rather than assume. He said most detectives' girlfriends simply get used to it, which left me wondering whether that's actually true or just something people say to defend poor behavior. The background checks on my friends and colleagues escalated into a bigger issue. He admitted doing them and said firmly that he would do the same with anyone connected to our future children. He doesn't see it as an invasion of privacy, but as being informed. In his view, people with nothing to hide don't need to worry. The talk about children was the most sobering. He doubled down on using trackers, allowing no sleepovers, and carefully screening every adult in their lives. When I called this controlling, he said, "Healthy doesn't matter if they're safe." That phrase has been stuck in my head ever since. I asked him if he trusted me. He paused for a very long time before answering. He finally said that he trusts me as much as he trusts anyone else. I don't think he realized how deeply unnerving that answer was for me. I just want to know where his limits are. I asked him what would happen if we broke up. He said he would never do anything illegal, but that he believes a man must take care of himself all the time. What is that even supposed to mean? I've asked for some space and am currently staying with family. He didn't seem angry. I honestly thought he would give me attitude about it and accuse me of being dramatic. Instead, he acted very coldly and matter-of-fact about it. While I'm not ending our engagement just yet, I am definitely rethinking everything. As much as I love him and believe he genuinely wants to do good in our relationship, I don't want a life where I'm observed, recorded, and assessed instead of being in a relationship where I have someone's support. More importantly, I don't think I can raise children with a man who prioritizes control over trust. Camel on Fire said he probably has a tracker on her since he seems to think that's a normal way to keep someone safe. She needs to check her car, phone, and any other electronics. Jenny Red Penny said there was a case recently where a police officer was arrested for abusing his authority to sexually harass a teenager who was working as a barista. He looked up her information to find her car and address and pulled her over twice just to talk to her. His wouldn't do anything illegal claim has already been proven false.